So we are on 6 different channels. Hello to people everywhere. What's gonna happen now is that we're gonna talk about Monica. We're gonna talk about Teachers Lead Tech. We're gonna talk about education. We're gonna try to cover that from 4 different perspectives. My old boomer perspective, Lera's totally Zoomer perspective, and I don't know. Agent K, Karina, where are you like from Zoomer to Boomer? Are you like somewhere in the between?
Yeah,
Can you
somewhere
project
in the
yourself?
middle. Somewhere in
Somewhere in the
between.
middle. Yeah, and Monica, how do you feel like from Zoomer to Boomer? Where on the timeline do you feel? Do you position yourself?
Oh, I have no nostalgia for anything I've done before, so it's yeah, looking forward usually. So I don't categorize myself.
Okay, right. I have one thing to show to sort of do a brief warm up to Monica, and there it is. There it is. There it is. 1 second. Here, Monica, what is happening on this picture?
Usually teaching others in uncomfortable situations.
Right. So this is you, but like, what's going on? What's going on?
So it's me and my little daughter, then maybe 2 years old, in Stockholm, when we were doing independence celebration fooding hour with 20,000 kids in Lithuania and I guess 5 Lithuanian communities outside of Lithuania. One of them was Stockholm. And we were basically created a coding a game where kids learned about Lithuanian independence history, or how the way I describe it, they were programming personalities who shaped Lithuania in the last 100 years. So it was integrating history, fun, illustration, gaming, and programming into one lesson. So I was starting that lesson there. I actually have the same tights. That's weird. That's been like 3 years. That's been 3 years.
And I think this was part of Beaten Byte. So
Yes.
I'm opened up the website. It's called Sorcery for Kids, and you're doing this with a Dev Bridge. So that's the software development company, right?
It's a complicated one because actually Bit and Byte was started 6 years ago as a technology creation club for kids, and we did a lot of social initiatives. One of them, and one of the biggest one, is partnership with Bridge, where kids in rural areas or smaller towns are paid, get free tuition on their after school club. But we also have kids in Vilnius, so it's like a joint thing. And we also had a Google.org grant, first in the Baltic countries, to start training 1,000 primary school teachers. So it started another chapter in the history of my career in education. But I ended up there basically seeing what's happening in tech industry, because I've been working in startups for 5 years before that. Basically saw that technology industry is creating the best jobs in the world. And I thought that it's just simply impossible not to involve more kids, because we'll create more divide, and we need to provide opportunities to kids to understand that technology is not only a toy, it's also a means for learning. And yeah, that's where I started. Yeah, it's been 6 years ago.
So let's assemble it all together. So it was Beaten Byte and probably still is, and
Yes.
then there is Teachers Lead Tech. That's what we're talking about today. And as I see on your LinkedIn, you have raised your first investment, and then you mentioned about some good news upcoming. So let's assemble it all together. Where is Beaten Byte? where are Teachers Lead Tech, and what are you to do with all this? And yeah, what are you doing?
So basically, I started bit and byte blending two of my favorite passions. One was technology, and the other was solving societal problems. And I picked education, and it was just a very conscious blend. And I started bit and byte as a Saturday club, and I was always having that techie inside of me, looking for opportunity to scale. And of course, when you're running club for kids, it's very impactful. It is doing a lot of good for the world, but it's unscalable. We even tried to do Open Up in Berlin, and it was very cost inefficient. And every year we ended up doing it more and more, meeting more and more kids. But in total grand picture, it changed very little. For example, if we had 1,000 kids in our after school club in the age group, we had 150,000 in Lithuania. So another 149,000 kids had no access to the skills we were providing. So I was always looking for opportunity to scale the impact and the opportunity and the learning opportunity. And we, as Bit and Byte, were granted with Google.org grants. And when we started a pilot project with primary school teachers, it was quite obvious that this is the audience that we want to create with, for, and with. And TeachersLeadTech is actually a spin-off of Bit and Byte, a new entrepreneurial journey that was gathered and field proofed when working with kids and teachers when at Bit and Byte. So it took only 5 years to understand what I'm doing and find an insight to create an actual product that's scalable uh, further along. And we launched in September 2020, so it's 6 months ago. Launched to the market, and we now have 1,300 primary school teachers learning with us. So basically, we're serving 26,000 kids, and it's in 6 months. So it's definitely from my techie perspective, that's my way forward, both from impact perspective and economical perspective, because quality education has to be affordable, and building amazing technology around it can actually make it. So if we made e-commerce liberal, if we made payments liberal, we have to make it the same for quality education.
Actually super interesting in a sense that I mean everything is changing so quickly, right? And the technologies and I mean the world is changing super quickly. Like it's another day and you would have like a new social network, whatever. But that education is like it started 1,000 years ago and kids were teaching with their, I don't know, handwriting and books. And I mean it's still in a sense the same. It's just the new things that you have like I don't know, just such a little thing is. But I mean, studying physics or astronomy or something else would be so nice and so interesting with VR and all the technologies. And I'm wondering, like, how do you think, like, why it didn't change before? Why nobody's trying to change that part?
Yeah, there are plentiful of reasons. I wouldn't dare to say uh, what was the main reason. I guess one of them was optimization for kind of a very regular job, something you can guess and something you can teach to do, because the jobs we most of us do, all four of us, you can't teach to do them because you teach on the go. And so that was one. But for me, it was really, really painful to watch the the um, the distance between reality that tech industry is creating and the reality that educational systems globally are still living in. The distance is just, it's crushing. The way teachers are treated, the way the system is um, closing itself from new things, and how the industry is basically putting itself into a trap. is really heartbreaking, because it's not about teachers who are not ready or not keen to change things, but they're just trapped within the system, and it's very, very difficult to move from the top. So that's very heartbreaking. But at the same time, we have population growing rapidly, and we'll need more and more teachers coming, and we're not serving them in any meaningful way. So it's so merging those two things was very important to me, and I guess I would love to say that we're not building education company, we're building learning company, and that's the core difference between what has been happening in education technology for the last 10, 15 years, maybe 20, because the the inspiration I get from tech industry is that when you go into tech industry, you're a constant learner, and that's the way forward. That's the identity I want to bring in educational systems, that they need to become learning systems. They need to facilitate learning. So with TeachersLeadTech, we're not creating a toy or a tool. We're creating a system, a space where primary school teachers learn to create with technology. So it's two active words. One is learn, and the second is to create. And it's not about using as many innovative tools as possible, or jamming your cupboard with latest VR headsets, but it's actually about finding new ways to build stuff. For example, our 8-year-olds are already building VR worlds and coding in physics because they need to do for their project to work. It's not because their exam is in 10 years, but it's because they need to express their ideas creatively, and they use technology to do that. And teachers become heroes in the classroom because they facilitate a different kind of learning, and they suddenly remember that they're the leaders of learning systems. They're not they shouldn't be the ones following the system. They shouldn't be the one should be the ones creating the system every day in the classroom. And I think awakening the teacher, bringing back the confidence and saying, it's not a question if you're relevant in 21st century. It's just a question of tools you're using in the classroom, and you get back your leadership straight away.
I want to chip in saying that we can angle this discussion in multiple ways. We can talk about money in education. We can talk about education itself. We can dig more into how did into Monika's way, into getting where she is, and yet we have just about 30-ish minutes left. After that, though, we will have a casual chat right here in our Discord. And you, people watching us, down below there would be a link to join this community where you can find us three and Monika and other clever people. Feel free to join us. Where do we go from this now? Do we talk about kids? Do we talk about their parents? Do we talk about teachers? Do we talk about Monika? Do we talk about what do you want to talk about now?
About everything at once. Well, I'm actually super curious to know how that all works. I mean, you already gave some examples, but give more.
Yeah. Because I also wanted to ask, how does can you specify more? What are you actually teaching there? So that's basically the question.
I'm Monika, and I'm a parent, and I teach teachers, and I also used to teach kids, and my goal is to broaden kids' skill set, that creating with technology was their basic skill, as well as calculus, languages, or simple writing, because I think it just unifies it all into a new medium and into new means of creation. And we teach kids from their first grade, Form 7 or 8, things like basic AI training, things like programming in VR and building VR worlds, things like building your first website, things like creative programming with Scratch, things like cybersecurity, things like where else there is on a plate? There's so many. Building your first mobile app, uh, things like for building your first landing page for a cause or something you want to show to your classroom. So uh, it's basically taking whatever tools guys in technology industry are using and making it into a learning resource, because that's the way we actually work now. And we use things like Wix, website builder, and make it into educational content for kids. We use 3D modeling platform and make it into educational content for kids. But first, to make it happen in a classroom, we have to get teachers ready. So teachers are need to feel comfortable with the environment they work in, and also with understanding that in this kind of environment you will never know everything, because a traditional education system is based on complete knowledge, that there is a promise that if you study hard your knowledge will be completed, you'll have no gaps, and that it's has an end in itself. But when you switch to actual creating and learning and building, there's no end. Every project is a new beginning. You might use practices and concepts that you used before, but they open up in a new light, in a new experience, and in a new technology. So kids learn concepts of programming concepts like cycles, loops, variables, and apply it in different environments, in different projects. And to us, the most important parts that they not only understand and practice, but they have this creation part, that they are active learners and active builders. And we have kids programming snowflake diagrams when they're 8, when they never even thought that there is such a thing as the axis x and y axis, because they should learn it in 6th grade, but they learn it when they're 8 because they need it for their project. Or they're programming geometric shapes just to understand how they work in the 3 dimensions, because it just changes their perspective and they will never see a shape in a different way. But to make it work for teachers, we basically take these high level concepts and merge it with classroom subjects. So you can be programming a conversation for a language lesson. You can do a project in biology with virtual reality. So it's mixing everything best from tech world into kind of actual learning environments that they work in.
Like you mentioned previously about the village kids. So and now you're talking that like young minds do this stuff. They didn't have a chance to learn in school, and like they create with it. And so meaning that you're not focusing on some super duper privileged genius kids. Like it's accessible to everybody.
Of course, no. I don't see the difference between a super privileged kid and a kid, because kids are kids everywhere. I've worked with kids in Stockholm, in other countries, in rural areas, in the best private schools in Lithuania. And yes, their environments are different, but their curiosity for building with technology is the same. And that's why I love technology industry, because it's liberating. That's one. And the second thing is, and I think it's more related to my own experience, is that in my first technology company, I was the only girl. And we lose girls when they're around 10 or 11, when prejudice kicks in. And if we meet girls when they're 7 and 8, building with technology is just a natural part of their education. And if it's a teacher, 95% in primary education of whom are women, you suddenly have a role model of someone who's trying innovative new things, bringing that to the classroom wherever you are in the country. So we have teachers in the best schools in Vilnius, but we have teachers in the smallest rural schools all over Lithuania. And it's only because teachers are curious enough to bring the best of their kids. And that's why we need to make it affordable, because it shouldn't be a price or knowledge issue. It should be, I want to bring this to my kids issue. What do I do now?
Yeah, I was really surprised when I saw, I guess you posted some map of schools in Lithuania that you're working with. And I was like, oh my God, this is like really a lot. And I was really surprised because for some reason, maybe, I don't know, I thought that teachers from villages, they would not be that much interested in, learning new technologies. They would be like, okay, it's fine. Our system is okay like that. But I was really surprised that actually teachers are curious about that and they really want to know some new stuff like that.
Oh, yes. The amount of prejudice and skepticism we received in the past few years was just, overwhelming. But at the same time, I never believed them because that's their assumptions. They never checked with. And I don't know. I just went for it and thought, I won't feel good enough myself if I didn't try. And most of the stereotypes, of course, they some of them are true, but I really trust teachers. We came to them with our open hearts and with our open minds, just suggesting them that if you're just a little bit curious, join us and try it out, and you'll see how this works in your classroom, and you will be stunned. And we actually have such a variety of teachers that there's no such thing as our early adopter. We have teachers who've never used technology before pandemic. We have teachers who already programmed a little bit. So there's such a huge variety, and there is no one type of teacher that we work with, besides it being a primary school teacher. But our teacher average age is 50 years.
How much again?
50 years. So it's
Oh,
mostly
that's
women
cool.
who are
Uh-huh.
50 years and they're building VR worlds and laughing like kids when they succeed, because
That's
they understand
amazing.
and because they understand that learning is not about achieving a great mark. It's about unlocking your potential and learning the same way, things in a new way. But we put tremendous effort to help them. It's you won't believe how much effort every teammate gives just to guide and support every teacher, and to kind of be there for them because they're really scared. It's so new to
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
It's so new. It's so fresh. They're they're shaking in front of the classroom when they're showing first time to the kids, because our ultimate goal for whatever we're building is learning transfer. How do we make teachers confident enough and ready enough to transfer their knowledge to the classroom? Because our goal is for teachers to meet every kid in the classroom, be it a girl, be it a kid with learning difficulties, being a kid with learning disabilities, being it a kid in a small village school who maybe has no chance or support from their parents to actually learn something outside of school curriculum. And teachers are, they're like Oleg was game evangelist. Teachers are kids evangelists. They're the ones who actually care about their children. So we should care about them so they bring the best education and best learning experiences. And of
Yeah,
course,
that's so cool.
yeah, and of course, you can only bring an amazing learning experience to the kids if you experience it one yourself. So when building products for teachers, and you will see tons of them in the next decade, because in my opinion, teachers will be the next software developers, because we need more of them, and the amount of them is shrinking. So it's just demand and supply question. So there will be a lot of tools and products built for teachers specifically, but but to but yeah, but just to create learning experiences for teachers that average average products would be how to say, an insult to bring to the market, because teachers are just too important people in our learning systems.
How
Yeah,
flexible are schools about changing their curriculum and their program? Because to me, it looks like state schools, they would be pretty resistant to that, but maybe like private schools, they will be more open.
Another assumption. Thank you for the question.
yeah.
We hear this a lot as well. We, out of 320 of 300 and something schools, we have 2 private schools.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Like that was a slap in the face. It's like
Yeah, but I mean, that's a happy slap.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. I perfectly understand. And it's in 2 years ago, I would have agreed with you, but it's changing so rapidly, and the pandemic pushed state schools to do something. Let's just do something, and they kicked and they kicked learning systems out of the comfort zone and showed the gap that actually um, that schools are very, very far behind what's actually happening in the world, and actually value creating industries. And yeah, but it's just the beginning. It might be different in another country, but even if, when we're looking at other markets, we're not interested in private schools, uh, only because I really do believe that for impact, or kind of for a national change to happen, you have to go into public sector, no matter how hard it is. And of course, I'm delusional in with many ideas I have, and I totally understand it, but you know, that's my value proposition, not in terms of. Not only in terms of money, but also in terms of what I believe in and what I want to work for.
oh,
And yeah.
but can we talk about money? I mean,
Oh yeah.
No, I have other
can we talk
question
about
before. No, I have other question before. I'm sorry. Yeah, because you've been talking about, about other countries. I saw on your website that you're working with Koreans for some reason, and it was kind of so random for me. Why? How did it happen? Why you were working with Koreans?
A startup world. We just applied to accelerator, and that was organized by a Korean startup ministry. And
Okay.
our colleague Rasa spent 3 and something months in Korea, and it was just a glimpse of understanding how difficult it will be to scale. And um, and uh, yeah, but we kind of she came back from Korea, and now we won't be actively expanding or doing any actions in Korea, because we're kind of looking for a more change ready educational system, because Korea is stuck.
Yeah,
And
they're like that. Yeah.
yeah, they're stuck in a way, because they're just too afraid to change, I guess. So we'll need we need to find a market that is change ready, that it's not only feeling it but already doing something. But the government is too slow to implement, so we're coming in to scale the opportunity.
Okay, now
can
it
we
makes
talk
sense.
about
Yes, now
money
you can
now?
talk about money.
We can talk about money now. Look, money. I mean, this is like meant to be about the founders, and I mean, changing the world is very, very nice. But changing the world and earning money, that's also cool. Well, that's what I think at least. And on LinkedIn, uh, you've closed your first investment round with Coinvest Capital, and I see quite a bit of cool angel investors from the Baltics investing in you. And can you a bit talk about that? Like, how did you? What did it take for you to get there, to get a first investment? And what did you pitch? Did you pitch to change the world, since you were working locally, kind of, or like what did it take to get the first investment? And can you talk a bit more about the money part?
No, I'm not naive. I'm not changing the world. I'm simply serving teachers that work with us. and see how we can change their work experience a little bit, at least a little bit. So, I'm not changing the world anymore. The world is changing without my effort every second. It's a biological process. And when going for an investment, it was a very, very hard choice. It was really a very hard choice to me because I knew how much emotional effort it will require. And also, I knew how difficult it will be to convince investors to invest in education startup.
That's why.
Because we don't have experience, we don't have we don't have successful examples. So that was one
Okay.
assumption. And third was that I actually was really, really cautious myself on how we will earn money. I had a lot of ideas and hypotheses and understanding and belief, but I knew, I understand very openly that it's a very risky move. And and yeah, so it was a really, really long road until I decided to go for investment. It took about 6 months for me to actually say, okay, we'll go for investment. Because I was really scared. I know how startups work. I know how much pressure they have. I know how VCs, toast you on 10 times growth. I know how it's hard to kind of uh, just to maintain some kind of life work balance, if you know what I mean. And I
Yes,
have
we
three,
do.
Yes.
yeah, and I have three kids, so it's
Oh,
so it was a very, very tough choice. But at the same time, when you say, Oleg, about money, from working in the NGO sector, I very early realized that if you don't build a sustainable business, you don't bring any impact because you're just surviving, and it's very emotionally draining, and you can't just live on donations and grants, etc. Because just it's just like a leaky bucket. You just pour money and it just leaks out at the same second you put it in. So to build a system, a lasting system, and to build a sustainable change and to live on the promise to the client, which is the teacher, you have to build a product that comes into the school system and is used like a exercise book or any other school book, that's just in a digital format. So we raised 500,000 euro investment because we needed a larger investment because we're a slow grower. We need to do a lot of research. Our season is quite long. It's a school year for us to do any kind of rapid adjustments. At least we thought that at the beginning, because now we're changing every month. So it's a totally crazy process. And we needed investors who were not pushy on the returns. So we needed investors who cared about financial success, but not necessarily in 2 or 3 years. It's fine with them if it's going to be in 5, 6, maybe 10 years. So it has to be, as they call it in the US now, patient money. So finding patient money was yeah was quite easy, actually, to be
Really?
honest.
I
But
was about to
Yes,
ask, how hard is that to find that?
yes, it
it's like,
was.
yeah, startups. Yeah, startups is easy. Like, yeah, money. Like, people just give you money and like come back in 10 years. So, yeah,
It was
inspire us. Inspire us. How easy
yeah,
it
but
was.
it took only 5 years of grinding and actual work. So when I came to Angels, they knew me, they knew my work, and they didn't have any question. So out of
okay.
12 angels I talked to, only one said no.
Hmm.
And it took me only 5 years. So
That's
it's
a great
so
conversion.
that's yeah, that's I would say it took. 5 years of actual field work to get into understanding of the problem and of the market, and for angel investors to say, we see what you're doing, keep going, we're investing, so that was the easy part. The more difficult part, of course, was to work with co-investment fund, because it was a new kind of investment to them. They've never invested in a tech company, but with a lot of, but they helped a lot. They were fantastic. They're a fantastic fund, and they helped a lot. And of course, they had a lot of push from the angels. A lot of support and credit from credible angel who said, we need to try this. We need to try this medium. And now I've heard rumors that they're creating a separate fund for educational startups in Lithuania. So kind of it's a new chapter in the history. And as far as I know, I'm the first female founder that co-investment fund invested in. So it's yeah, there's a lot of change happening with this investment, but when it comes to money and returns, let's talk in 5 years. I have no idea. It's just a lot of assumptions and a lot of moving pieces and a lot of guessing work and a lot of trial and error uh, to happen in the next 4 or 5 years for me to say if it was a good idea or not. Not an idea, but was it a sustainable? Were we able to create a sustainable business model or not? Because now we're just playing. We, earn revenue. Everything is amazing, but it's just first year, so it's
Wait, but how do you approach investors saying, I mean, we're playing, yeah, like come back in 10 years, maybe we'll play good enough, maybe not. Like how what do they expect from you? Do they expect from you, to take all over the world and to be the top educator globally? What are their ambitions? I mean, you're saying that they're gonna get back in 10 years. So in 10 years, what's the KPI or something?
It's not that they are expecting that in 10 years. It's more that they're not pushing for quick returns. That's the main point, because we don't know. We don't have experience. They don't have experience, and I'm quite open with things I don't know, which is not usual in startup industry, because you should be fake it till you make it, and just lie and invent and empathize. But it's just too hard for me, so I'm going openly and saying, I know this, but I don't know that. I want to try. I need money. So it's quite brutal in a sense, but at the same time, I guess mm, there are 32 million primary school teachers globally. 32 million, and our goal is to teach at least 1 million teachers by 2025. So we have big goals for ourselves, and the ways forward, the ways to go to those goals will be very, very unconventional. My personal belief is, because there's no playbook how to scale in such a in a teacher's market, a product it is about teaching teachers, which is a crazy thing to think about it in itself. So we'll see. I think investors are very, very different. Some are investing in terms of saying, uh, I just want support, experiments. Some are investing because they feel that will be a very growing market in the next decade. But of course, we started our investment process just before the pandemic, and it was really scary when pandemic started, because I had no idea how many angels will drop out. None of them did, but you never know how their financial situations are turning. But global edtech investments in the last 8 months grew by 30%. So it's mental. The world is investing in education technology companies, just like that, just throwing money in, because everyone is building up on the opportunity that but the pandemic is bringing, and it will be a very, very interesting decade. And I think it's going to be very crowded and very noisy in the next 5 years.
But besides the patient's money factor, how were you choosing the investors? I wonder. Like, besides this factor, what are the other factors that you paid attention to?
Hmm.
If they have money?
I guess I was choosing people I look up to as leaders and as builders, because my goal is to grow a new generation of technology builders and creators. So are the best to invest in such a venture builders themselves. So most of the people who invested, actually all of them, are technology company builders themselves who started from scratch, who didn't have any uh, technological education while at school. They had to bootstrap themselves and learn things themselves, or some of them, very few, maybe in uh, in university, but most of them understand that technological skills are the most important skills when thriving in a 21st century. So if we bring this to the market, we'll have a more diverse market, we'll have more intelligent market, and a more how to say, sustainable workforce and sustainable skills, because no one needs kids who read and write. We need kids who think and create. So it's I guess they see as a forward thinking investment, and it's a very, I think, values based investment on many levels.
Values. And we've been live for 40 minutes. In just a bit, we will switch you off and we'll join onto the people's channel in our Discord, just to have a casual conversation off the record with Monika. But you're invited to join. There would be a link down below to the community. With the few minutes left still live, I would like to ask you a ton of questions. And one of this is, what are you doing next? Are you raising? Are you becoming profitable? Like, how do you grow? Second question, you are hiring, actually. And why would people want to join you? To make the world a better place, or do you have something else for them to offer? I don't know, interesting tasks, something. Why would people work for you? And the third question, but let's start from the first two.
So now we're hiring a part-time backend developer and a part-time data analyst. We all, I hope the person will agree. We just hired an amazing front end guy, and I would say that not only the societal challenge that we're solving is amazing, and the response you get from the teachers is amazing. So basically, teachers, they're saying to us that we're not only changing how they run the lessons, but we're also changing the way they talk to their kids. So we're flipping classroom environment itself with the tools and educational materials. So that's one. But also, it's a technological challenge in itself. How do you build a learning environment that's supportive and scalable enough to serve 1 million teachers? I have no idea how to do that. If you have ideas, do ping us. We're always looking for amazing people, because that's usually how we grow. People come with amazing ideas to us. We're quite an experience in hiring, because people come to us usually themselves. I don't know how they find us, just random things. And our team is made of um, industry professionals. Some of them still working in as lecturers in New York University. But because we work so hard on the product, we're not very vocal publicly. So we're not the hottest startup in Lithuania because we're hottest startup to our teachers, and that's the most important thing to us. So technological challenge is, I guess, crazy because everything we build will be new and interesting, and we're very, very open-minded to building technological innovation. And the first question, what's coming up next? Oh, we just
Money-wise,
started.
what's coming up next? Money-wise.
Money-wise, I don't think we're thinking actively about a new round now because we're just finishing to understand what we're actually doing. I think it was a long journey, and we're still experimenting a lot. We are scouting for a new market um, to experiment with, but we're just trying to understand what we can experiment with and how much it will cost, because we also are very, very responsible in front of our customers here in Lithuania. So we make sure that whatever we do, it's we don't break the system and the team here. So it's a very, very long term planning. So whatever we do now, we have to make sure that in June 2022 we're still in action and serving our customers here. So there's a lot of streams going, but I'm very interested in Asia because I believe Asia will be the growing most in the next decade. So, but just that's a lot of assumptions. And of course, if we want to reach 1 million teachers, we have to speed up with the new market and grow fast. And when it comes to revenue, we have revenue. We're not we haven't reached break even because I think we shouldn't even strive for that in the year one. It will be too early. But
So 200 and 2000 pricing, I'm showing your pricing page right now on the stream. So 200 yearly for a teacher, 2000 yearly for a school. So is it a good pricing if you're not break even yet?
I guess it depends on it's we've never expected to become to I don't know, we never maybe expected to break even in Lithuanian market. We have to be we have to understand that it's a very small market in terms of how many teachers we have. So it's more of building a product and growing somewhere else. So we reach the break even, and because we have invest heavily in technology, we need to build curriculum, we need to build a product, we need to build the learning experience itself. So we have to invest heavily in the product up front. So it's we hope with the next market we may reach break even, but I'm not even sure if we're gonna go for round two. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Lera and Karina, do you want to ask last question, or shall we close down all the people watching us on all the corners of the internet and move to a cozy people
Yes,
chat?
let's go to cozy chat.
Well, she's the boss. Also, all those people watching us, did you notice her t-shirt? What's written on your t-shirt? That's such a Zoomer vibe. Right. Also, the funny part, since I'm in a wedding dress today because there is a birthday going on right now on this day, and the birthday is for a country that two of people in this chat are located at right now. The country is called Lithuania, and yeah, happy birthday, Lithuania.
Happy birthday, Lithuania!